Let's talk about the absolute nightmare called the Michigan Oddities and Horror Fest. Overbooked vendors, refunds still missing, displays blocking fire exits, VIP ticket holders ripped off, and more.
Dozens of vendors were turned away from the Michigan Oddities and Horror Fest this weekend. Dozens of vendors say the horror-themed event in Monroe County turned into a costly disappointment this weekend after they were turned away from the event, despite paying booth fees and traveling long distances to attend. Nate Thompson, the organizer, told WTOL 11 that approximately 20 to 25 vendors who could not be accommodated will be receiving refunds.
Hello, my friends. Gather round because it is tea time. So, as many of you know, I'm Kylie, and I'm the owner of Venom Dolls, a handmade creepy cute plushie business out of Detroit. I thought making a video about this, or like a long wordy post, would just be way too long, so I decided to go live and just kind of leave this up here for everyone to watch when they get a chance. I will not have a chance to be looking at what you guys are commenting during this, but I'll try to go back and comment on everything later, because it's just me here. Okay, so without further ado, I was one of the vendors that prepaid for a spot at the Michigan Oddities and Horror Fest in Monroe, Michigan this weekend. Now, this video is not to sit here and bash anyone. We all know how fucked up it was. I don't need to add to that negativity. So I'm just going to share my personal experience and my opinions, and that's it. So, we all kind of knew that something was wrong on Thursday when he posted a picture of the venue, and all of the spaces were just an 8x8 table jammed together with not even any space for the vendors to walk around or get into their spaces. People started panicking, messaging him, we were messaging each other. We were all just like, what the heck is this? Because we all paid for at least a 10x10 space, not an 8-foot table space. He reassured everyone that it was all going to be okay. He sent me personally a drawn up map, and he was like, look, this is your guaranteed spot. It's definitely 10x10. I know you have a really big professional setup and you can't shrink it down at all for this event. Well, when I get there on Saturday morning, I am originally one of the people in line that are turned away. Probably 100 and 150 people standing outside in the frigid cold, some that had babies, kids, it was just absolutely unacceptable. And they were all told, including myself, that there was no spaces available. Now, I'm not the kind of person that takes no for an answer, especially because I already booked a hotel, I had helpers coming, I had customers coming. It's an hour and a half drive from me, which I do understand is not as bad as some, but I was just like, this is not happening. And I just walked past the volunteers, who, by the way, this is not their fault. Those volunteers took the heat, and it wasn't their fault at all. So that made me even more upset, honestly, that he wasn't even there to, face the brunt of the angry vendors. He left it up to these poor volunteers, some of which who were probably only 18 or 20 years old. Crazy shit. But anyways, I just walked around them, and I went and I found another volunteer who was walking around trying to help people, and I showed her the map, and I was like, hey, look, I was given this map only a few hours ago. This is where I'm supposed to be set up, but it's all taken. And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry, everything got moved around, and the show's massively overbooked. And she showed me to this little table that was quite literally blocking another vendor's booth, because the other vendor's booth had an L shape, and my booth would have been an L shape in the opposite direction, so overlapping hers by a foot. And because they kept shrinking the spaces, my neighbor had no space to sit behind her table at all. So I let her sit behind in my table space as well, which was very crammed, having 4 adult humans behind, one table with my booth overlapping her booth. Luckily for me, she was extremely awesome. Shout out Stephanie. And we just had a great fun time, even though we were just making the best of a really shitty situation. But anyways, so my spot ended up only being 8x3 when I paid for a 10x10. So I couldn't bring in half of my displays. I couldn't bring in my banner. Couldn't bring in anything but my table. And so I basically just did the best I could. I set up everything on this table and tried to freaking get through it. And I don't know, everyone was just really in a bad mood, and it was kind of a really tense situation, and I don't do great in that kind of thing, so I was just trying to set up and mind my own business. Saturday was when the chaos really blew up, and I'm sure you saw one of my posts went kind of viral, and I had news media outlets asking me to do interviews about my experience and all kinds of stuff, and I was like, I'm not going on the news just to bitch, that's crazy. Sales on Saturday were very slow. The police were there. I guess there was like about 150 people who didn't get in. I don't know if they were all vendors or if like some people were like vendors that had help or like a husband or something. But there was like 150 people, probably 100 vendors or so that it was oversold by. And I felt so bad for those people. I know some of them drove like 5 hours to get there, and they need to be reimbursed their travel costs, if they took off work, if they got childcare, if they got a hotel like I did that was non-refundable. It's so much more than just the vendor fee. And so if anything positive came out of this, I guess that it is that a lot of the world knows now how much we put into these events and how it's not just us like showing up and making a bunch of money. It's a ton of work and a ton of time. Not to mention all of the inventory that these people spent time making for this event, and they were expecting to have sales. Now, obviously, I am not saying that our issues as vendors that did get in were anywhere near as bad as the people who didn't, and those people need to be taken care of first and foremost. But the vendors who did get in also suffered because of all the bad publicity. No one came to the event, which is like, okay, I understand not wanting to support that guy, but we drove, hours to get there. We set up, we had helpers, we paid a lot of money. My hotel was non-refundable, so I just stayed. And I probably made, I don't know, about $200 on Saturday, which doesn't even cover the booth fee in the hotel. And then on Sunday, I only made 3 sales the whole freaking day. No one was there. There was way more vendors than people. It was a mess. If you're going to throw one of these events, you need to focus more on getting attendees for your vendors to make money, because the vendors are the only reason people are there. People that make these art by hand. So I was just super frustrated, the whole situation, so were all the other vendors, but we tried to just band together and like commiserate, basically, do the best we could with what we had. And it was really crazy. Like, honestly, the fire marshal was called because everyone was so jammed in there. The aisles weren't handicap accessible. There were so many violations, and the police were there almost all weekend. I don't blame those other cops for making, or the other vendors for making a police report with the cops or anything like that. I think they were totally justified, and I really hope they all get refunded. But I just wanted to end saying that, like, I really freaking appreciate everyone who came to my rescue and were trying to help me make up lost sales, because I lost my ass this weekend. So I'm just really grateful for all of you guys. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to get to them in the comments. And I just really appreciate the support. And I feel like we should support the vendors that also didn't get in. So I'm going to try to do a pinned post and tag all of their businesses. So if anyone wants to give them a follow or a like or a share or a sale, anything really helps. Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Love you. Bye.
So anybody that was going to come to see me at the Monroe Oddities and Horror Convention, I am not here. I mean, I'm here. I'm sitting in a parking lot right now, but I'm not going to be vending because they overbooked by over 100 tables, over 100 vendors. So there was a lot of us very upset. I did get my refund for my hotel, travel, and table expenses, only because I waited around and because I paid in cash last year, on the last day of the convention last year, because I usually make pretty good money at this, so I was planning on coming back again this year. We managed to contact Nate via Facebook and let him know the situation, that we wanted our refund. He swore up and down that I was on the map and was one of the first people to be put on the map on the layout, but somebody must have taken my table, which there was a lot of that going on because people were just pissed and wanted their tables that they paid for. But he was still selling tickets for vendors as soon as yesterday. He was still taking new vendors. So this is a venue that he has done multiple years, so he should know what the capacity is of this building. Why he overbooked that many vendors, I don't know. I'm not going to really speculate. I know that a couple of other vendors were talking about class action lawsuits. So there's going to be a lot of vendors from Michigan and some from out of state that are going to be on TikTok and social media talking about this event. I did get my refund, so even if there's a class action lawsuit, I don't think I'm eligible to join in on that, but I would be more than happy to share my perspective or my, as a witness of being here. So yeah, there's that. We're just waiting to see Figment, because Figment drove all the way over here to see me, and so I'm still going to meet up with her, and then we're going to go grab something to eat and then drive all the way back up north, and that's like a 4-hour drive. So I will post a longer, more in-depth video about all of this, maybe a story time or something. But yeah, this has been a first for me. I've been to some very shitty shows where things did not work out and the weather was horrible or whatever. and still stuck it through because, I had a spot. This is the first time I ever showed up at a show and did not have a spot, or, ran into this kind of situation. So, definitely not having fun. Kind of sucks. Alrighty, welcome to ScamCon 2026. We are continuing on strong with the Oddities and Horror Convention in Monroe, Michigan. So a lot of people online are very familiar with Nate and his museums and his one restaurant, and apparently there's whole Google Docs on bad behavior, past and current. I have not really looked into those. I just know, like, hey, he does conventions. I started doing the one Oddities convention, and I make decent money at them. So it was one of those, like, there's going to be shitty people everywhere you go. I'm going to try to make the best of it, and we don't really have very much for really cool conventions in Michigan at all. So I was just happy to be able to have a place to go and sell my more odd and obscure stuff and, see friends that I don't usually get to see very often, or maybe make new friends. And although the communication for these shows have been really, really terrible, I put up with it because I'm a very patient person and I will put up with a lot. And as far as bad communication, I do mean, like, literally I would send a message on their official page and I would be lucky to get a response in a month. Even though, like, the message I sent was read. It was seen by somebody and it would sit there for like a month or longer before it get responded to. So yeah, that's how the communication goes. As of this year, I got to the convention for early setup on the day of opening. I didn't do early setup yesterday because of, situations, and we drive over 4 hours to get down there for the show. Got there, early setup was at 8, we got there at 8:30, and the little lobby area was already packed with vendors, very pissed off and angry, because he had overbooked anywhere between 50 to 150 vendors. He was still taking on new vendors yesterday. The show opened today. One of the other issues is that a lot of us who paid last year, we paid for a 10 by 10 space, and 2 days before the convention, he posted a picture on his account showing that these spaces were now 8 by 8. There was no, like, price difference or a partial refund or anything, no explanation. Another friend of mine was sitting here watching the comments. Any negative comments that were added to the pictures below were quickly being deleted and disappearing. So that was definitely red flags there, and I probably should have canceled and asked for my money back, but I also paid in cash last year on the last day of last show, so I didn't have any kind of digital, like, paper trail to be able to do, like, a chargeback or anything. So we ended up going down there because I thought, like, oh, hey, I was confirmed. He used my artwork as an ad, like, used images of my merchandise as an ad. I'm confirmed. I have a space. I go down there, did not have a space. We had to message him on Facebook, kind of explain my side of the situation. I did manage to get a refund because I waited around and waited until they had enough cash in a cash box to give me a refund. So I did get refunded for my hotel, my booth, and for travel, which I know that I'm probably, like, maybe one of a very small handful of those vendors who managed to get a refund so far. I don't know if anybody else got a refund. I haven't seen anything else about anybody else getting a refund just yet. But I do hope that people manage to get a refund. There was some talk about class action lawsuit going around. There was just a lot of people just very much not happy, and I do not blame them. I traveled 4 hours to be down there for a table that I paid for that was supposed to be guaranteed, only to be told, like, you have no table. Somebody else must have taken it. I am currently playing catch-up on Facebook. There are some other pages that are trying to help the vendors who were turned away. The fairgrounds themselves are offering to help. They want information on the vendors and on our online presence so that they can maybe try to help us out. There's another Oddities festival that is down in that area that is also looking to help boost our pages and stuff. They can't offer us a space at their show because they are already booked for the year, but they are very much trying to help us the best that they can. I encourage anybody who was supposed to be a vendor at the show, if you come across this video, please add your information in the comments. Please let us know where we can find you, what you sell, even post pictures. Like, go for it. Go crazy. I would really like for some people to actually get a couple sales despite the shitty situation. I mean, I got my refund, so I'm good on that part. And I know not everybody is that lucky at this moment. A lot of people are still trying to get their refund. I really, really hope that they do manage to get their refund. But yeah, this was a super shitty situation. Like, cops were called, fire marshal was called, health inspector was there. It was a whole circus. It was crazy. I didn't really film anything on the inside just because I was still confused and trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. I did a quick walkthrough to see if I could see any of my friends that were also supposed to be vending there. I'm talking to one currently right now. She managed to get her table because she set up yesterday. But a couple of other people that I know did not set up yesterday and also got turned away today. I will say that I do feel bad for the lady up front that was trying to run everything, that got left there by herself and was trying to deal with all the angry vendors and the police and everything else going on. She was very much overwhelmed, and I do genuinely feel bad for her, and I really hope that she considers not helping at any of his events or helping him in the future, because it seems like it's way too stressful, and I don't think she needs that kind of stress in her life. But then again, I don't know what her relationship to him or, how close they is. So I can only just, if that was one of my friends and they left me there to deal with that by myself, they would not be my friend no more. Just saying, I would have been done. I would just walked out and be like, fuck this, I'm gone. And I'm a very, very patient person. I put up with a lot. Like I said, in the years in the past, I think this was our 4th year doing this show. The communication has been horrible, but I put up with it because I made decent money at these shows, and this was it. So I'm done. But yeah, if you were supposed to be a vendor there at the Monroe Oddities and Horror Convention or Festival, whatever the heck it was, at the Monroe Fairground this weekend, if you got turned away, please leave your information in the comments. I will follow back, and we'll see what we can do to try to boost everybody and try to get eyes on everybody's really cool stuff, because I love shopping at that myself. I was really looking forward to walking around and spending a bunch of money at the show myself as well. There's not a whole lot of really cool oddities type alternative shows in Michigan, and I always look forward to this one because then I get to go shopping as well. I leave my roommate at my booth, I wander around, I spend a ton of money, I come home with a bunch of cool trinkets and show them off, and I didn't get to do that this year, so I'm really, really bummed about that. So please leave your information, and we're going to try to help each other out. I'm going to try to, get you seen by more people the best I can. I know I don't have a huge platform, but I have a decently sized platform on here. So I hope whatever little bit I can do will help. But yeah, I'm stressed. I'm not too terribly happy. My day got brightened a little bit more because one of my online friends from TikTok traveled up to see me, and so we got to go out for lunch and catch up, which was really nice. She brought me a gift, so thank you so much, Figment, for that. That was amazing. I love my goodies. Thank you. But other than that, I'm tired. It was a hell of a trip, so 0 out of 10, do not recommend.
Hi guys, I'm Janelle. I am the owner of Cozy Capes here in Michigan. I was a vendor this weekend at the Michigan Oddities and Horror Fest. Friday morning, I started seeing posts on Facebook about how the table spaces had gone from 10 feet as a mid-tier bottom, standard table. I had gotten a corner, which is a 10 by 10 corner. So 10 by 10 by 10 by 10. So 40 feet roughly. You would assume, right? You could put a pop-up tents. Well, Friday morning, there was posts on Facebook stating that, unfortunately, he couldn't get all the tables at the 10 by 10s. Some were 9.5, some were 8. So I had sent him a message. Well, first I posted it on the Facebook, and then I noticed that my messages started disappearing. So I started posting it over and over and over again, thinking maybe Facebook was messing up or whatever. That's when I started realizing that he was deleting my messages. He did message me directly and said not to worry, because I needed space for racks. So, okay, cool. Didn't really worry too much. Now, mind you, I've been asking him since November how come he hasn't been advertising my business since I paid for one of the top tier spots. Well, I'll get to you. I still have 50 or 80 people in front of you. I'll get to you. Okay. Nothing. So again, back to Friday morning. So Friday morning, when I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm going to get there early to make sure that I have a spot that I wanted and that I paid for. I get there. We're one of the first people in to start setting up. We get everything set up because we just have to hang up some capes, right? Get them hung up. And then after that, we go back and forth and, to the car to get a few more things. And the people that was standing out there right behind us was still sitting out there like an hour later in 10-degree weather with -0 or lower wind chill. Okay, a little weird. Some people were saying that they were worried at that point in time that tables were going to start going away, that there wasn't going to be enough tables. And some vendors were like, well, I'm just going to camp out here because I'm worried about my spot. Again, this is hearsay from other vendors. Saturday morning rolls around. We get there at 8 o'clock, 2 hours before the show, right when the other vendors who were supposed to be there that didn't set up Friday night. There was 50 to 100 people easily in line trying to get checked in. We get to our spot. Again, we are right next to the front check-in. We hear everything. We see the cops getting called. The cops get called because they say that there's only 3 tables left. She gives them away, turns away all 50 to 100 people. Not exactly sure exactly how many vendors, but that's about how many people were in line. A little weird. People start calling the cops. From what we can see and hear, people are making a human chain trying to block the participants from coming in protest for what Nate Thompson had done. Cops come in. Everyone starts talking. I'm eavesdropping, trying to see exactly what is going on. Do I need to be worried as a vendor? There is this gentleman. I don't know his name. He was supposed to have live mammals there. He had monkeys. There was also people with reptiles and live tattooing going on. Don't understand how that works, but okay. So then, because of the live tattooing, the monkey guy couldn't have his monkeys come in, but the reptiles were fine because the reptiles are not mammalians. So the monkey guy gets really mad and pissed off, calls the health department over and over and over again, sneaks the monkey inside, starts videotaping, causing a huge ruckus. Monkey guy gets taken out, and from what I've heard, monkey guy loses his licensing. Reptile guy keeps getting calls, and the health department says, we're getting too many calls, pulling the permit, go home. We don't want to deal with this anymore. Fire marshal was there all day long. Between the fire marshal, the health department, animal control, the police, every single department of Monroe County was there throughout the day. It wasn't until about 5 o'clock when the poor woman who was running around, I had her in one of my red capes because she was freezing. It was ice cold in there. So I gave her one of my capes. Here, honey, stay warm, do what you need to do. She came by and she was just like, we have to move the tables back even further. So we move our tables. So I carved out Friday, my spot. Saturday morning, tattoo artist pops up next to me. Where is my spot I'm supposed to be? Health department makes me move my stuff even more because they have to have a certain amount of feet for health code reasons. Okay, so my 10 feet that I caved in is now 6 feet. 2 clothing racks, a mannequin with a huge dress, and 2 people working. Okay. No sales. Great. Pissed off. Make a post last night. Nate Thompson did refund me after I had made several posts on Facebook about this. Awesome. Come in this morning. I'm thankful nobody showed up today. I mean, I feel really, really bad for the vendors, but I'm glad that Nate Thompson did not get the ticket sales today. Again, complete shit show. A lot of vendors left at many parts throughout the day. I'm begging you, do not ever give your money to the Michigan and Oddities Horror Fest. It is a waste of time. We had people that drove from Nebraska. We had younger artists under 18 whose parents were with them, but came from Chicago, Pennsylvania, all sorts of other places. And so these poor children who want to sell their art has either been turned away, put in absolute horrible places. These poor celebrities that came in, all of the horror actors were shoved in a closet room with vendors. The poor 3 vendors that were in there yesterday, there were no patrons that were allowed to go inside. It was purely for the people that paid to see the actors. Thank God they got pulled out. Whoever stayed got pulled out for the other vendors that left yesterday. News station was here today again. Don't do it. Don't do it, guys. Do not give him your money. Do not go to his horror museum. Do not go to his horror restaurant. Boycott. Do not give him any money. This is the 3rd or 4th year in a row he has done this to various different vendors. Don't do it. We had spent thousands and thousands of dollars on fabric to make capes for this, specifically for this event. I sold 1 cape. I brought 60. Some vendors, they had food, bakers, sourdough. Nothing. The food trucks ran out of food by noon yesterday and had to stop selling to go send their employees off for food. Do not, I repeat, please, do not give your money to Nate Thompson or any of his crazy business ventures. I really wish I would have done my research on him. Any future events you plan on doing, please do your research. I didn't.
So I want to talk a little bit about this weekend. I'm going to do this one post and I'm done with it. I'm over it. I'm not talking about it anymore. I told a couple people that I would maybe give them a little bit more details, but I'm not blasting. I'm not that person. I never have been. So I decided to sign up for this event kind of, I wouldn't say last minute. It was a few months. Like, usually my first event of the year is Nordic Fire Festival. One of my biggest events, one of my best events. Coordinator there is amazing. Should have just kept it that way. But I was like, okay, you know, it's a little slow over holidays, things like that. I tend to do a little bit more costumes than anything. So I was like, okay, I'm going to add this one event, right? I heard about it for the last few years. It's been going on for a few years. I was told by a really good friend and vendor and coordinator to be careful, and that he was very disorganized. And I'm like, disorganized. I've dealt with that before. As long as it's a good event, right? The problem was that it was so disorganized and so many vendors were displaced, and his name was blasted so much that it hurt the event. All those vendors that made it in, I don't know that even half of them made booth feedback. I had, all in all, a really good weekend. I was there with my partners. We always bring the party. We try to be in a good mood, be lighthearted about things. We love trying the food truck foods. We love going and walking around with vendors. I always not work with vendor friends. This is how I make new vendor friends. But as soon as they found out I was a vendor, it was just like commiseration. Which I get. I mean, everybody was upset. We were promised a 10 by 10 space. That was the smallest space. Everybody had a 10 by 10. I don't know how you can do a event in the same place for multiple years in a row and still not know how many 10 by 10 spaces you can fit in. Obviously there was a very big egregious error here. I personally am okay. I want everybody to know I had a lot of vendor friends reaching out to me yesterday, and I love you all for thinking of me and being concerned about me and my business. We're fine. We're continuing. We're gearing up for Nordic Fire Festival, guys. Come see me there. Yeah, the event didn't get a lot of foot traffic because nobody wanted to support him. It was $20 on Saturday to get in. He had dropped it to $10 on Sunday. We got a little bit of foot traffic. I ended up making, some more money on Sunday. Wasn't a great event by any means. But, all in all, I had a great time. The tattoo artists, bless their hearts, were bored. I saw so many milling around. I'm like, all right. So my partner and I had gotten a tattoo together back in June in England, and the girl did not know how to shade. Kind of looked like a 4-year-old had shaded in the moon and the trees. I got a shout out. Savannah Compton fixed it for me. So that's all healing. And then her partner, Dick Erkman, I think is his name. They are the Raven and Rhino tattoo shop in Toledo, Ohio. Both fantastic, amazing work. And they were both amazing people just to sit and chat with. Super chill, made us very comfortable, even in like a convention atmosphere. They didn't even have the room that they should have had. I'm not gonna go into details, but it was bad all around for everybody. I also was able to pick up one of my prized possessions. A lot of you probably don't know this about me, but I actually have an Elvira collection. I collect all the artwork that I see in my events. I love Elvira. I was able to get this beautiful piece. Oh, I love her. I'm hoping someday that I can meet her and get it signed. I'm gonna share his card too. That way everybody knows. I know it's probably backwards, but his name is Patrick Rasmussen, Rasmussen. Absolutely phenomenal work. I've seen him at a couple of different conventions. Great job. But basically what it boils down to is I love all my vendor friends. So many great vendors that were actually there. And I don't even think that they made their booth fee back. So the people that got turned away and are getting reimbursed their booth fee, count yourself lucky. And I don't say that to be mean at all. And on the contrary, I'm happy if everybody gets their booth fee returned to them and made whole. He did reach out to me. I'm not going to post things. I'm not going to,
screenshot, you know, conversations. He did reach out to me, and he made it right with me. He asked me what he could do. So those vendors that were there, the vendors that were displaced, be the squeaky wheel. Be made whole, get compensated for the absolute disaster that this was. And that's all I'm going to say about it. So I hope that everybody can sell their items that they had made for this event. I know that there is a company out, and I'm going to post that link too. In Jackson, they're having a free horror convention for those vendors that were displaced. Absolutely amazing. I think it's the same people that put on Blood Bash, which actually I'm taking my 2 oldest to. So please look out for that. Sign up for that if you were displaced. Get your product out there. I would love to go and support, however that is, Nordic Fire Festival weekend. So customers, come to Nordic, obviously, because it's amazing, and you got to see me. But then go over there and support these artists that made all this stuff, and now they can't unload it. But I love you guys. Thank you for being concerned about me. Sorry this was so long, but I know everybody was wondering. But I am fine. I consider it an okay weekend. So I hope to see you guys all at Nordic Fire Festival. It's at the end of this month, you know, through obviously beginning of March, because it's, you know, that weekend, that last weekend of February. So come see us in Charlotte. But I love you guys, and take care.
Hey everyone, you know that I was at the Michigan Oddities and Horror Festival this weekend in Monroe, Michigan, and things did not go very well for a lot of people. And I waited to make my official statement until now because I wanted time to put my thoughts together in what I hope is a professional manner. But it is a long statement, so I am going to read what I have written to you here. If you don't want to stay for this entire video, that's okay. You can go over to my Facebook page where I have pinned my professional explanation of events this weekend. So first, I would like to say thank you to all of the wonderful people who stopped by my table over the weekend. It was lovely chatting with you and helping you find a new book for your TBR. I hope you enjoyed your time, and I hope you'll enjoy your reading too. Obviously, those in attendance were not the issue here. Now, for my experience with the event as a vendor, please keep in mind that some of these things were observed and some of them were told to me by other vendors that were there for the duration of the event. This is the 3rd time I have signed with the Michigan Oddities and Horror Fest. I was in Saline, and then last year in Monroe, and then this year in Monroe as well. All 3 times resulted in new connections to other vendors, to readers, and even authors and celebrities that were in attendance, which is wonderful. As far as positives go, it's a nice community of people who enjoy spooky things, which is something I value tremendously. It's sort of hard to find that community, and obviously that's where I belong as a horror author. The attendees have always been kind, and as far as my personal interactions with the host, Nate Thompson, he's always been pleasant enough to me. The fee for attending is reasonable for the space that's offered, and I've never felt unsafe, and I think that's important. With that said, some things did not go well, and there are serious problems. As far as the general issues with the event, it has always been disorganized in all 3 of the times that I've attended. Since the first time I attended, there has been a significant lack of communication between the host and the vendors. Emails often go unanswered, as do posts on the platform's pages. The most luck I've had so far was contacting through Facebook Messenger. It can be very stressful and frustrating because I'm lacking information necessary, and other vendors are as well, to make this a successful event for anyone. These frustrations compound when I know that I have personally spoken with the host about these issues, as have many other vendors who attended and made suggestions about how to move forward in a more efficient manner and told them what we needed as vendors for the event, but these suggestions and concerns have not been implemented at all. The same problem continues to persist. In my 3 attendances, I've only received 1 vendor graphic for attending, which required multiple back and forth messages, requests to even get that one. This makes sharing my presence with readers much more difficult because I want to respect the branding for the event and not make my own stuff if I can. It's a minor concern, but it's still important as far as like professionalism goes. And all 3 times I've attended, setting up at the event, trying to get a specific table has basically been a free-for-all. We arrived, we checked in with one of the volunteers, and we were told to either find a place or at random led to a table. The check-in process was chaotic and it could be confusing, which led to more problems. I will say that the volunteers, though, have always been friendly and helpful enough, but it just doesn't make up for the lack of organization. Now, for the serious issues that arose this year, it became clear that the venue was overbooked, and not by a little bit, by a long shot. There were not enough table spaces for those who paid their fees to attend. I have since been informed that this is not a new problem. I was not aware of that before this year, or else I would have, maybe changed my attendance. But the extent of the overbooking this year was far worse than it had previously been. At a low estimate, more than 25 vendors were turned away at the door, having already paid for their spots, and some of them having expected to vend there for a solid year since the previous event. At a high estimate, the number ran up to 80 plus vendors, and that is very significant. None of them knew that their space was not reserved. Some of them drove extremely long distances, like some from as far as Nebraska. Some of them had perishable goods that would go bad if they weren't vended at the show, and so those had to be thrown away or purchased. Some of the items belonging to the vendors were used to promote the event, and then that kind of falsely represents what would be at the event itself. And of course, none of this is acceptable. It's also notable that all 3 times I've attended, the host himself didn't show up until right before the event or even after the event started, which makes navigating any issues that arise beforehand so much harder to deal with and resolve. Makes it really difficult to run a successful event that way. Amongst the vendors who were able to set up in 2026, we had our own issues as well. We already felt many frustrations with the vendors who were turned away. And then in addition to that, many of the vendors received much smaller spaces than they actually paid for, with some of them being downgraded from a large corner booth to an 8-foot space or smaller, some of them even having to share their spaces with other vendors. It's an issue because you pay a lot of money for something like that, and that can be very frustrating. We were packed into the venue like sardines. There was not enough space for all of us in there who were able to set up. To the point where like everyone that was in my corner had a less than 1 foot gap between 2 tables that we all had to share to get in and out of that corner safely. And it was quite frustrating and not great for accommodations of anybody's needs. The aisles themselves between vendors were far too small, too narrow, which resulted in the fire marshal's presence. We were very nearly shut down entirely because of this issue. And then I was also informed that animal control was called because of issues regarding one of the vendors. Police were called regarding disputes about vendor refunds, and there was even an unlicensed tattoo artist on site, which is a big no-no. All of these things are major issues. As for my personal experience, right, from what I can speak to, I'm glad that I was able to interact with so many people. Attendance was down from previous years, in part due to vendor frustrations and sharing these things online, and in part due to attendees choosing to boycott the event, which is, of course, their right, and especially given the situation. But it was frustrating. We did not see as much foot traffic as we were told we would, or anticipated having been at the event in previous years. We made do. It turned out okay for me. I cannot say as much for other vendors. It was a significant challenge. And then as far as refunds, I was told that refunds are being given to the vendors who were turned away, and even some of the vendors that were able to set up because they did not receive the spaces that they paid for. I do not know this personally, and I'm kind of monitoring this situation right now to see what happens. Those refunds should be covering table fees, hotel fees, travel expenses, and even some inventory costs. So I will keep an eye on that. All of that is to say that I'm super thankful I was able to be there and I was able to set up. I know it could have gone a whole lot worse for me, but I'm really quite frustrated with how things go, and I will not be in attendance in 2027. I'm going to watch and see if any significant changes are made. If they are not, I will not be there in any years beyond. I cannot in good faith represent an event that does not demonstrate the necessary integrity that I represent as an author and as a business person. So I will say that I do not wish any ill will on anyone involved or the event itself. I sincerely hope that this was a learning experience, that things change, not just for myself, but for future vendors and past vendors who have had grievances as well. And that's pretty much all I have to say at the moment. Trying to navigate this in a professional and respectful manner. So if you have any questions for me personally, please reach out. I'll be happy to answer them. It is what it is. It was not a great experience for many people, and I just feel bad for the people who were turned away, the people who didn't receive what they paid for. So, but thank you seriously to everyone who did come out and chat with me at the table. Thank you for taking books home with you. Thank you for making my author career possible. I really, really do appreciate it. So I'll be back soon. Until next time, stay spooky and be safe.
God, pardon me while I fucking cry and talk drama. My hair is crazy. I just embarrassed the shit out of myself. Not really. But I stood alone in front of a lot of people and I did something really fucking scary. And if you're from Metro Detroit, if you're not from Metro Detroit, you can scroll on because I'm sure you don't fucking care. But there is an event, a horror event that I participated in. And it was really bad. It turned out really, really bad. The guy who coordinated this event, long story short, fucked over a lot of small businesses knowingly. And he'll say he didn't know that he did it, but I know he knew. And I can tell you why right now, and I'm going to tell you. So I'm shaking, pardon my screen. I'm like, I am in my car. I haven't even left the event yet. And I'm just like, blah. But, so the expo was Saturday and Sunday, and Friday was set up. Friday from 3 to 8. And then you could also set up Saturday morning from 8 to 10 or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, that part doesn't matter. But I got there bright and early Friday. Well, bright and early, 3 p.m. But right on time. And never in the history of ever, and I've been doing shows for 10 years, never in the history of ever have I ever had to wait. Typically there's a map, you know, where we can know what to do and it's organized. There was no map that was ever sent out, nothing like that. And we waited outside. Again, I'm from Detroit, so it's cold. It's January. We waited outside for an hour and a half to get in, to get our place. There was a few people ahead of me and a few people behind me. And I'm sorry, I'm coming down. This is probably gonna be really long and you're probably gonna be bored, but I'm just like, my adrenaline is like running. Anyway, so we waited for an hour and a half. The coordinator to this event, Nate Thompson, was nowhere to be found. He was not there. And he had some poor woman trying to like coordinate this and handle this for us. And she was just putting us in places, and bless her heart, she was doing the best she could. And the person who was helping me set up, because we were cold and we were outside, he was like, fuck this, just set up tomorrow morning. And I turned to my friend and I was like, if I come tomorrow morning, I have a feeling I'm not going to be in this event. And because I'd overheard rumor, people were starting to talk that the event was overbooked, you know? I was right. So we ended up getting a space. We ended up getting a decent space, actually, really good space, like right up front and center. And we set up and I got on, and this is how I know he knew, because hearing that rumor, I ended up getting onto his page and I kind of did a little bit of stalking, you know? And I was looking at like things that he was promoting the show, and people were saying on there, they were like, we're coming from Chicago. We'll be there right at 8 a.m. to set up. We're so excited. Ba-ba-da-ba-da. And he blatantly like ignored those comments. But then other people would be like, how do I get tickets? Like saying it like damn near at the same time, or even after like the Chicago post was like said. And he would respond to the people who wanted tickets. So I know he read that. Even, and people are messaging him, you know, whatever. He blatantly ignored these people. Anyway, so he overbooked this event anywhere from 30 to 150 vendors. I don't know. This is all hearsay. So much rumor and so much drama. Oh my God, to be a vendor in this fucking show was drama. Let me tell you. I heard everything from 30 to 150 vendors he overbooked, and he pocketed that money. And these people drove from Chicago, Alpena, up north, 12 hours away. These small businesses drove to come to this event. They invested money into a dream that they had. And they got here and they were turned away. He didn't even fucking tell them, like, hey, I overbooked it, don't bother coming. Like, these people paid for gas, they paid for hotels. Some lady was like, I baked. Like, she can't resell that. She can't resell that. She lost like $1,000 worth of stuff out of her pocket. That's just out of her pocket. That's not fucking gas. That's not the hotel. That's not the hopeful income that she was going to make to support her business, to pay her bills, Wherever you are, lady, I'm so sorry that happened to you. So anyways, I worked Saturday, and goddamn if that shit was fucking weighing on me, man. It was just killing me. It was killing me. And I sat with it all night. I left early yesterday. And it just haunted me. And in my conscience, I cannot be a part of this. I'm missing out on money. You know, there was a lot of people in there when I packed up and left. But I can't be affiliated with that. It's like solidarity, you know? It's like these people are small businesses, and this time right now is so tough. And these people's dreams were fucking squashed. They were squashed, and this guy knew it. He knew it. He fucking knew it. He knew what he was doing, and he pocketed their money. And then, you know, he's refunding people. Cool. You're refunding people. Did you really actually refund people? The only people that I heard, and again, this is all hearsay, to be on the inside of this, I've heard so much crap. The only people that he's refunded are the people that have verbally said something, who have posted on social media. Those are the only people that he has refunded. I don't know. Anyway, I packed up and I left in front of everyone. And I did it alone. And I was embarrassed and I was anxious and I was scared. But I have to stand up for what I believe in. And I believe in small businesses. And the lowest of the low type of person would take advantage of a small business, take advantage of a dream. That's fucked up. That is fucked up. And I want no part of it. Nate Thompson, I'm sure you will watch this. And I've known you for years. And I liked you, dude. I did. I believed in you. I thought you could do something cool for the spooky community, you know? But I want no part of this.
Hey guys, it's Sarah. I'm coming in to talk about my experience at the Michigan Oddities and Horror Fest that was hosted and put on by Nate Thompson in Monroe, Michigan this past weekend. Woo! I am glad that is done. And I'm just going to share my experience. I had a lot of car trouble on Friday. I planned to check in an important business meeting at 6 p.m. that I could not be late for. Due to my car, I wasn't able to get to Monroe and to my business meeting. My friend, oh my God, Christy, I love you. Her and her sweet dad checked me in, literally like held down a table, like held that hostage for me. And I wouldn't have had a spot if it was for that. I was one of the ones who registered very late in it, and some of my friends paid a year in advance. When I got there, I went in the back entrance kind of just to hurry up and set up. Thank God my friend was with me. Love you, V. And it was, was it a vibe? It was a vibe. I could barely get in. The aisles were like this big. Everybody was like fighting for spots. It was, excuse me, madness. And I got set up. Come to find out, one of my dear friends, he's stuck. And you know, he has been taken care of by Nate. He got some custom orders. So I do know Nate has been refunding some people and taking care of their expenses and hotels. And so he is making it right from what I've heard. He did with my friend. However, my heart absolutely shattered. My friend was there for 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. And guys, the show started at 10. The vendors were still there. Like, they were still there waiting. And the sheriff was there. I was right there when the sheriff walked in. And he just was like, oh my God. Like, I mean, there's a case number for it. There's multiple police reports. So if you're affected and haven't filed, I encourage you to. And it was just, you know, a vibe for sure. Not a great one. Not a great one. And it's, you know, people were there from out of state, came to support this. It was a $20 entrance fee. Day one, just to come in and shop. Nate didn't get there until about 11:30, and he was walking around just like on his phone, walking by, and a lot of people didn't know who he was. I know who he was. I was recruited by him a couple of years ago, so that was interesting. And then later on, we didn't see him until the news was there, and that's when he brought his kids. And yeah, I feel like that was definitely an intentional move. No one's going to, like, come at him with his children there. Like, well, I shouldn't say no one. I don't know. But, you know, I have standards. I'm not going to do that. And, again, I fared way better than so many. So I'm like, I'm not complaining. Well, maybe a little on how it was around. Ooh, hey. So he then, when he pulled up for this interview, he blocked like 3 cars in because he just like pulled up and got out with his kids. And these were customers that couldn't leave. And I was there when that was happening. My friend and I might have skipped behind the camera with our awesome Sky Zone wristbands because we did not get those cool laminate vendor things, which I normally keep all that stuff from shows. I mean, my gosh, you could have got a sleeve and put like a little something. None of that was made. The booths were not taped. The booths were, it wasn't booths. It was not booths. It was chaos. People paid $150. That was a minimum to get in. I saw, I'm going to say easily 50 people that did not get in right there that I saw. And again, they could have been in their cars. There could have been more. I don't know. I do know that the dear lady running it said that, you know, if you don't go outside to email Nate, you're going to be forcibly removed by the sheriff. And, you know, her hands were tied. I just encourage everybody as a warning to be very careful. People paid upwards of $400 for large booths. People traveled from out of state. I mean, the amount of prep work that goes into preparing for a show as a small business. And this is a very niche show. So not some of our normal inventory, you know, like I definitely made a lot of new stuff. I know a lot of people did. And that's, you know, that hurt. That's my experience. I would love everybody to put their socials below, anybody that was been affected, any vendors that was there, because I don't know of anybody that did great at it. So we could really use the support as small business owners coming into 2026, and let's just spread the love. I personally left early the second day. I had a very, very hard time as someone who is super sensitive to injustice, being AUDHD. I was mentally and physically just exhausted in such a climate of uncertainty right now with everything, to see innocent people sincerely being affected. Like, listen, I can't speak for everyone, but I pay my bills with this business. Like, it's not a hobby for me. It's a livelihood, and I'm not the only one. So please go support these local businesses. We need you guys now more than ever. And Stone by Medusa is not going to be doing any more shows in regards to Nate Thompson. He also owns a horror museum. I encourage you not to be a patron of that. And yeah, so the ticketing fees were still $20 online yesterday as well, which I saw a lot of people buying online, and all that admission just went in his pocket.
Okay, hi friends. I am here with something I really wasn't going to bring to TikTok, but my mom just sent me a video of a decently big page promoting this man, and I just can't handle it. As you guys know, if you follow me, if you're here from my normal page, hello. You guys know I run a business. It's called Blind Date Library. You can find more information about it in my bio. There's links, all of the things. I digress. When I started Blind Date Library, I was online only. My mom does craft shows. She is a baker. I got the opportunity to do an event with her. Brought a couple books. My sister crochets. We did like a whole like family affair situation. Loved it. Had a ton of fun. Now I do craft shows every weekend, pretty much from spring until Christmas. Almost every weekend. For the past 2 years now. And last year I had my biggest year yet. My business is growing. It's so much fun. I'm so thankful. Whatever. Not whatever, but like, I wasn't planning on doing this, so I don't know like what I'm going to say. And I had been reached out to by Nate Thompson. I want to say like November, December. He was doing a Oddities and Horror Festival in Monroe, Michigan. I live in Michigan. It's like an hour away from me, hour and a half. I thought it was an hour, but then when we put in the GPS yesterday, it took us like an hour, 20, hour and a half to get there. And I was iffy about it. Me and my mom went back and forth about it for like a couple weeks, not because of anything. Like, it was a very normal conversation between like a host and like a vendor. He didn't give me any kind of like red flag. And I ended up deciding, I just didn't know if like my products would like do well there. Like, I sell books. I know a lot of those people like probably read, but like my decoration style is a little bit more cutesy, and I didn't know if I would fit in, and I was going back and forth with my mom about it. We were trying to decide what we wanted to do. We decided December, I want to say it was December 20 something, because me and my mom looked it up yesterday. We decided to go ahead and pay for it. I had already filled out the application and gotten accepted. I just hadn't paid for my spot. So I sent him an email. I was like, hey, we have decided to, follow through. We're going to come. Can you let me know if you still have spots? Because I know you accept. Ooh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. You accepted me a couple weeks ago, so I just want to make sure like I don't pay for a spot that doesn't exist. And which is funny in hindsight. He was like, yep, go ahead. I sent him a Cash App, because that was one of the form. My mom had Cash Apped me her half. Anyways, I digress. It doesn't matter. I Cash Apped him $150 for my booth fee. Pretty standard booth fee for a big convention like that. It was 2 days. Wasn't any kind of like red flag there either. Before sending him the Cash App gave me a weird message it's never given me. But I also don't really Cash App new people ever. It's just like my mom and my sisters. So I did, before pushing send, look on the Facebook page, and there was positive reviews of him and of the event from other vendors. I looked at his business page. I looked at his personal page. I looked at several different resources, and nothing nothing stood out as like a red flag. There was nothing on any of the pages that was negative, at least not that I could see. And so I went ahead and paid him. I was like, whatever, it is what it is. Spent all week this week getting ready for this event and prepping, and spent, between me and my mom, we probably spent $600, her in like perishable goods to make cookies, and me in like books and, you know, wrapping paper and decoration supplies, like that kind of stuff. Plus our $150 vendor fee, plus like $100 in gas to get there, and that's not to mention any of our time over the course of the last week and a half. So we get our happy butts in the car Saturday morning at 6 a.m. 6:30 I think is when we left, and get in the car, drive an hour and a half to get to Monroe. We pull into the parking lot at 8:08 exactly. I walked up to the doors at 8:02. There was a woman working at the door. This woman is just like an innocent bystander in all of this. It works for Nate, but like this wasn't her fault in any way. So like I don't have any like ill will towards her or any like whatever. But she informs me, she asked me if we were here Friday night to set up. And I said no. Nate said Saturday was perfectly fine. Like, we live an hour and a half away. And she said, okay, well, all but 3 tables got filled last night at setup. So I've already had 3 new people check in this morning. So you need to leave. And if you know me, I'm very opinionated. I'm very loud. I'm very like, I will stand up for more other people than myself, if I'm being honest. Like if someone had said some shit like that to my sister, I probably would have gone off, but like it was me, so I was like, oh, okay. I was confused. So I went back to my car. Me and my mom, some other girl was like pulling in behind us and saw, because I had already loaded our wagon full of our stuff. Like I pulled in the parking lot at 8 o'clock, walked up to the door at 8:02. Those 2 minutes were spent loading all of our stuff out of the car into the wagon. And so she sees us loading stuff back in, and she's like, oh, our vendor's not supposed to park over here. And my mom told her what was going on, and she was like, well, I'm going in there. And so me and my mom got in the car, and we were kind of like, oh, we're gonna wait until this girl comes back out and like see what happens, because that other girl basically like closed the door in my face. She was like, you need to leave, and then like reached for the door that was propped open and like closed it. So we waited for a little bit, and then decided to drive around the back of the building because it seemed like more people were like driving back there. And we saw a cop pull in, no lights or anything, but I was like, oh, that's interesting. So we go around to the back of the building, and there's a bunch more doors propped open there. And at this point, like, we had been in the car for an hour and a half. It's probably like 8:15, 8:20 at this point. And I'm like, well, like, let's see if we can like go to the bathroom, see what's going on. So we go to the bathroom, we come back out, and there's a police officer like in the parking lot. And so my mom walked up to her and was like, hey, like, what's going on? And the police officer basically said that they were like creating an incident report, all of this jazz, and that to go inside and get the report number from these people, and that they were writing down their contact information. So we did that. We went inside, got the report number, wrote down our contact information that one of his employees was collecting to supposedly give to him. In this time frame somewhere, I forgot to mention also, I had called the number that's listed on the Facebook page like 2 or 3 times, and I had messaged him on Facebook, which is where me and him had communicated prior, and I had emailed him, which we had also communicated on prior, and I'm not getting any response. While I'm filling out these papers in there that all the other vendors are filling out, there was probably like 30 to 40 vendors standing there. Like, just that had been there, you know, it's 8 o'clock. The event doesn't start until 10, so like there's other people that I'm sure haven't showed up yet. They are saying that he is in communication with them, he's responding to them, so I'm like annoyed. I fill out what I needed to fill out, and my mom's like, there's really no point in us like standing here, like we should just go home. And so we went home and proceeded to then, I posted some comments on the Facebook group that was made for this event, because my product had been used to advertise like on this page. I'm gonna have to make a part 2, so I'm so sorry, go to that. Okay, so we get home, and I had made some comments on some of the posts on the Facebook page. The one of him promoting my products like on this page to like advertise for the event, saying like blind date library, attending vendor, and there's like pictures of my mom's cookies, and there's pictures of like my books. And I was like, I don't remember exactly what I said. I'll insert it here and you can pause and read it, because I have screenshots of everything. And there was another woman who had made a comment on a different post talking about her father who had driven 5 hours. I'm pretty sure I interacted with her father while we were there, and he was like very nice, and he was telling a little bit of like his like situation. I felt really bad for everybody, obviously. Like, it was such a shitty situation. Like, I did not know what to do. I was just trying not to cry because, like, if you know me in real life, like, you know how much shit I am going through right now. And, like, not to make this, like, a pity party on me or, like, anything like that, but, like, I invested a lot into this because I knew it had the potential to, like, be a very good event. I've done events similar to this before. I've done events of this caliber before. Like, I know what the payoff can be. So I was willing to do that. And, like, I'm in a situation right now where, like, I should not be risking shit like that. Like, I should not. Anyways, I posted on that comment where this girl was talking about her dad. He had replied to this comment. Nate Thompson had replied to this comment saying, I'm messaging you. So I don't remember what it said, but it was like something along the lines of, I'm going to make sure he gets refunded. I'm going to message you, whatever the heck happened. So I make a comment tagging him and the business, and the like event, under that same post. Cause I'm like, oh, you're looking at this post. Like, I've been trying to get a hold of you all day. Which again, I'll put on the screen. You can pause and read it if you want to. And then he finally messages me hours after the fact and does offer me a refund, so that's all cool, I guess. He refunded me my vendor fee, and he refunded me for gas, so cool. But the whole thing here that irritates my soul is the fact that he is using this to gain sympathy from everybody. I don't know the dude. I've spoken with some people who do know the dude, and I don't have anything nice to say. They didn't have anything nice to say, so I'm not going to say anything, but you can do your own research if you are so inclined to do so. He sounds like a grade A POS from all of the first-hand accounts I have received of him. He is using this to gain sympathy from everybody. Everybody's like, people make mistakes. It's not your fault. It's okay. Like, just issue the refunds and move on. It'll all be okay. Like, you're doing what you're supposed to do. No. Like, I'm so sorry, but nothing about overbooking. I'm seeing a lot of numbers thrown around. My original comments that I've posted that you guys could read say 30 plus, because there was about 30 to 40 people standing there with me that morning. I'm sure people showed up after I left. I'm sure there was other people who maybe had already left, whatever the case is. But I'm seeing numbers thrown out. The highest number I've seen thrown around is 170 extra vendors. Now, this venue is big. It's an expo center. It's pretty large. He's been hosting this event there for multiple years, somewhere between 4 and 7 years. I'm getting multiple accounts on that. So somewhere between 4 and 7 years, you've been hosting an event in this exact location that has not changed, and you still don't know how many vendors you can fit in it. Like, that's not an accident. That's blatant and intentional, or it's just blatant and intentional laziness. You're either trying to scam people, or you're just refusing to put forth the effort to actually, like, sit down and calculate how many people you can fit in. And this is not to mention the vendors who did end up getting a spot, who I also feel like equally as bad for, because they got spots, but there was like tattoo artists that like had spots that didn't have access to electricity. There were like celebrities that were supposed to be doing like meet and greet stuff that were like set up in like some kitchen that like people were saying like looked pretty sketchy. I obviously didn't get to go in, so who fucking know? I don't know anything. The vendors who did get spots, we were promised 10 by 10 spaces when we signed up. The spots were maybe 8 by 8 from what I'm being told. The aisleways were like impossible to walk through. The fire marshal had to come out and like, I don't know what ended up happening with that. I just saw like reports of the fire marshal being there. And guests were like annoyed because like there's like not room to like walk really, or like get strollers through, or if you have like a wheelchair or a walker or anything, it's like hard to get through. So it's just a mess overall. So my point in this long-winded, almost 20-minute story is to say, sorry, I'm in the gym parking lot and there's a lot going on right now. Please do not support this man or any of his businesses. The post that I saw that my mom shared with me is about a restaurant he's opening in the Monroe Mall, I guess. Please, I will, screenshot, like, and put here, like, the businesses, like, the actual businesses, that this man owns, at least to my knowledge. I don't know. He sounds like he owns like a bunch of different stuff. He's done interviews with like magazines and stuff, I guess. Like, he is not a good dude. I don't care what anybody says. You guys can come for me if you want to. But 100, even if it is only 30, like, let's take the lowest number. Let's take 30. Even if there was only 30 extra vendors, I say only, like it's a small number. Even if there was 30 extra people, that's not an accident. Like, it's just not. There's no other way to explain it or any nice way to sugarcoat it. 30 extra people at an event where you know what the space looks like and you know how much room you have is not an accident, like, whatsoever. And at the end of the day, this was intentional. It feels intentional. And according to the people I have spoken with who know this man or who have done business with this man previously, this is not the first time he's done this. He's done this multiple years in a row. It sounds like this might be the most amount of people who he's fucked over like this, but it's not the first time that he's done something like this. So please don't go to the Michigan Horror Museum. Don't go to the Final Meal restaurant. Don't support Michigan Oddities and Horrors Fest. There's so many other like Michigan Oddities events going on, and they're all over Facebook. Anything to do with Nate Thompson, please stay far, far away, especially if you are a small business or a woman, from the sounds of things. So I digress. We will be back to book content very soon on here, I promise. I'm going to go to the gym and try to be less angry.
At a Michigan horror-themed festival this weekend, the biggest scares were the scheduling issues, after dozens of vendors say they were turned away, claiming the event was overbooked. Dominique O'Neill joins us in studio now. Dom, what can you tell us?
Well, Michael, what was supposed to be a big weekend for small businesses has turned into a major headache for some vendors. Dozens are posting online saying they traveled hours to the Michigan Oddities and Horror Fest, paid booth fees, and even booked hotels, only to be told there was no space left when they got there. Take a look at these Facebook posts. More than 20 vendors say they were unable to set up on Saturday at the Monroe County Fairgrounds Expo Center. Several claimed they paid to participate, but were told there was no space left. I got in touch with one of them, Wickley Co., who say they arrived at 8 a.m. after traveling from Medina, Ohio, only to be told there was no space. A disappointment, adding they've never had issues with the event before and believe too many vendors may have been booked this year. It's created a situation where people who did get a booth feel a lot of sympathy for those that didn't.
It really sucks for vendors because vendoring's a hard business. This is your stuff. Some people drove from 4 hours to get turned away after they paid. That's not okay, man.
Feather Metal from Michigan, another vendor who was turned away, shared a similar story, saying this was their first event of the year, and with their main income being the business and winter months tight with limited events, one no can be incredibly frustrating.
Do feel terrible for the vendors that did get turned away.
But some vendors say there is some nuance to this situation, saying organizer Nate Thompson normally does a good job, and they would be surprised if he doesn't make the situation right.
I hope that they did find some way to get their refund back, and I know Nate has been very, very dedicated to trying to make sure that everybody gets their money back that they were intended to.
I think, like any businessman, you've got to give him a breath to breathe, and I'm pretty sure that if they get refunded, then I understand their frustration still, but at that point, they need to understand that he did his very best to try to make through it.
And I texted with Nate Thompson, the organizer. He told me about 20 to 25 vendors who they didn't have a space for will be receiving refunds. Reporting in the studio, Dominique O'Neill, WTO 11 on Fox 36.
Don't support the Michigan Oddities and Horror Festival. If you're in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, surrounding area, and you're into oddities and horror, don't support this event. Support better events. Tons and tons of vendors who paid for booths, who paid for the space to be there, who drove multiple hours, some of them booked hotels, some of them to vend at this event this weekend. Possibly as many as like 100 plus vendors basically showed up today and found out that it was overbooked and there actually wasn't any room for them and they were being turned away at the door, despite having paid for a space, being told that there was space for them. There are tons and tons of posts like this about this event from today. And it certainly seems like it's a lot of vendors. The organizer of this event made a post saying that, oh, you know, it's all on them and it was an honest mistake and the event got too big to be organized all by one person, but then mentioned that they have a team. So, but the problem is that this happened to vendors with this event last year too. I'm not sure if it was to this extent. I didn't see as much talk about it in like Midwest oddities, you know, spaces. But it did happen last year as well. And they're saying that they're going to give refunds to people, but that doesn't cancel out the fact that as recently as this past Tuesday, they were posting about like, oh, come vend at our event. We need more vendors. Give us your booth money, please. It feels scummy. Not to mention the person who runs this event. People have been talking in the oddities communities for a bit about them allegedly not paying employees, allegedly just not being a great person in their personal life, having like domestic violence charges against them, stuff like that, and being potentially a pretty shitty organizer. Just something to steer clear of.
So now I'm officially blocked on TikTok by the Michigan Museum of Horror. That's a way to start 2026. So let's get into it. I wasn't going to post anything on like their social medias, and I was just going to see if it played out. But somebody had asked on one of their comments if the skulls that, sorry, my cats are about to fight. If one of the skulls that they got, or if any of the skulls that they got were from the grave robber in PA. And they said, we have not procured any grave robbed specimens, nor have we added any new human skull specimens in over a year. What that man did is sick and gives a bad name for, and then it went on to like ethical, like all this bullshit. And I'm like, that's weird. Because I know that you bought from him before. So this is the skull in question. And it is Dead Shit Daddy, the grave robber's Instagram. And this post has since been deleted. Weird, but whatever. But then this, the same skull, the same hand tattoos, all of it was posted, and you can see the name by the Michigan Museum of Horror. They also had a TikTok of it, of the skull, but have since deleted it. And they also have it on display. Like, full display. And you can even see the name, Michigan Museum of Horror. Like, so I'm like, so you say you haven't bought anything from the guy, but there's literal proof that you've purchased from him. So I'm like, okay, well, if you bought one skull, who's not to say you haven't bought more? And on top of it, the museum always seems to have human body parts for sale. A human heel bone, a human temporal bone, and a human vertebrae. Okay, but where are you getting all these bones from? And I mean, they're not bad prices. I don't know. I don't sell human bones. I have no idea. But like, they're always available. Then there's pieces of real human skin. Okay, but the next one is way more concerning. Real human brain pieces. Where do you get your shit from? And like, I don't want to sit here and point fingers, and I don't want to sit here and accuse. But if you're going to lie about one thing and block people and delete comments and not own up to anything, it's a little weird. So then, like the psychopath I am, I go on my backup TikTok, and I only went on there to see if I was blocked, and I am, because it showed up on my backup TikTok. So I go on there and I post again, and it just spiraled. But I'm here for the ride now. So I had made a photo comment with the same one that I did for my other account. And they said, yes, however, there's nothing illegal about this piece. And it was talking about the engraved skull, not the skull up here, the engraved skull that I talked about in the first part of the video. There's nothing illegal about the piece. It just came from someone who eventually 2 years later started making bad, unethical decisions. This piece has nothing to do with his current crimes. What makes this case so difficult is he sold authentic legal specimens for a long time until he eventually got greedy. And so are you admitting to knowing the guy? How long have you known him for? How close were you guys? But not pointing fingers. Nope, won't do that. So then I said, why block people and delete comments if you did nothing wrong? You're acting so weird and somebody is bound to report you. And they said, because people like you bring bad publicity when they speak about something they don't know, like it's fact. In reality, it's not. I said, no, people like me are holding you accountable. You bought things from him and probably more than one skull. you should at least make sure that they weren't the ones he stole, which I'm very confident that the museum owner won't give two shits. I said, you deleting videos, posts, pictures, and then blocking people make you look suspicious. Be open and upfront and show your paperwork so people aren't coming after you. But you're trying to hide it. Why? Why are you trying to hide that you had made that purchase? If it was legal and there was nothing wrong with that sale, why are you trying to hide it? Why? Why are you deleting your TikToks of it, your videos of it, blocking people because they bring it up? Because it's bringing bad publicity to you. No. What bad publicity is coming to you and your museum and your name is you blocking people, deleting comments, hiding videos, hiding things. That makes you look so suspicious. If you have nothing to hide, why hide things? But like, here's their Facebook. And like all those skulls lined up there. And don't get me wrong, I'm very sure that there are very legal ways to get skulls and bones. But the amount that this man has and the fact that he never credits where he gets them from, besides saying legal specimens. But yeah, they deleted my comments on their TikTok video. And when I go to look them up, it says account not found and no posts. So, like I said, I'm not like pointing fingers and saying that the museum owner has bought like all of his things from this guy. But if you're being weird and you're hiding or trying to hide one purchase and you're claiming because people don't know what they're talking about and it's bad publicity, I have no idea why that word is so hard for me, but thanks for hanging in there with me through it. Why not just outright say, yeah, we bought this skull from the guy. It was legal. Like, here's, this and that. And I get that. Like, nobody has to prove anything. But in the case of this man grave robbing, yes, you should. You absolutely should come forward and start crediting where you get your shit from. Because not to be that person, but like, this grave robber is now under investigation. So what that means is if you bought anything from this man, anything at all, and you paid for it via PayPal, Facebook Pay, Marketplace, Venmo, whatever, however you paid this man, it's going to be traced. And they're going to end up at your door. So it's just wild and baffling to me that this museum owner wants to hide purchases or a purchase that they made from this guy. I'm not even going to sit here and lie to you guys. Purchases. I'm very confident that this museum owner has made more than one purchase from this grave robber. And maybe he did stop buying from him when he realized that he was grave robbing, but something in my gut says that's not entirely true. I don't know. I don't know. Everything will come to light. Everybody will have their day. But it's just wild to me. Just fucking wild that instead of owning up to something that people are clearly calling you out about, that we know, you want to just block us and shut us up. If it was legal and you have nothing to hide, why are you trying to hide it?